ladies and gentlemen. I went to a very expensive, snobbish, elitist education in India. And I was supposed to be a diplomat or a doctor or a teacher. And everything was laid out for me. You know what Indian families are like. Everything is laid out for you. Then I went to a famine in Bihar in 1965. Changed my life. Saw famine, death, starvation, hunger for the first time. Couldn't believe it, that in my country this was happening because I was so cloistered in a very elitist background and environment. So I came back home and I told my mother, I want to live and work in a village. Mother went into a coma because she said, what is this all about? You know, everything is laid out for you. And all of a sudden you want to go into this village? I mean, her biggest concern was, what will I tell the family? She said, what do you want to do? There's no money, there's no job, no more prospect, no security. I said, I want to be an unskilled laborer digging wells in Rajasthan. She wouldn't speak to me for many years. And the only time actually she spoke to me was 20 years later when the Prince and Princess of Wales came to Colonia. She was a bit of a snob. For 5 years, I dug wells, and I was exposed to the most extraordinary knowledge and skills that very poor people have, that I wasn't exposed to in school and college and university. And that was the first time I found the difference between literacy and education. You know, Mark Twain said, never let school interfere with your education. School is what you're going to learn how to read and write. Education is what you get from your family, from your environment, and from your community. So then I thought, when I saw this extraordinary traditional knowledge, skills, and wisdom that very poor people had, I thought I'd start a college only for the poor. What the poor thought was important would be reflected in the college. So we then redefined professionalism in the college. A professional in the Barefoot College is someone who has a combination of competence, confidence, and belief. A water diviner is a professional. A traditional midwife is a professional. Someone who has never been to school and college but have the respect, the acceptability of communities all over the world. So then when I started the Barefoot College, the elders came to me and said, I want you to give you some sound advice. I said, what? He said, please don't bring anyone with a degree and qualification into your college. So it's the only college in India that should you have a master's or a PhD, you're disqualified to come. You have to be a cop-out or a washout or a dropout to come to the college. You have to believe in Mahatma Gandhi's principles of working with your hands, dignity of labor. So they said, okay, if you're saying this, can you prove it? Can you show us something on the ground? So Tilonia is a very small village, 500 miles southwest of Delhi. Overnight you can come. It's a place which is 40 degrees in summer. Sometimes it does not rain for 5 years. It's a typical village in Rajasthan. I like this quotation because this actually reflects the Barefoot College. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So we set about showing that it is possible for someone who cannot read and write to be an architect, or a designer, or a communicator, or a solar engineer. Why not? Anything is possible. So we built the Barefoot College at $1.50 a square foot. 150 people stay there, it doesn't leak, hasn't collapsed, and 12 barefoot architects actually
What will the city of the future look like?
Designed it. It's the only college which is fully solar energized. All the power for the college comes from the sun. And the person who actually installed it, repairs it, maintains it, is this village priest called Bhagwat Nandan, who knows more about solar energy than anyone I know anywhere in the world. Beautiful, extraordinary, awesome man. So this solar-powered Barefoot College, for the next 25 years, has power enough to run photocopying machines, film units, dental chairs, everything runs off the sun. And it's the only college which has Wi-Fi faster than Delhi. It's a college where We have a milk booth, which is solar. We have a marketing outlet for 500 artisans who we sell their products, over $300,000 every year. We have a showroom. All this is the Barefoot College infrastructure. We have a solar-operated ATM, and we have a telephone exchange, which is solar-operated with optical fiber cable. And we make all our films in the Barefoot College. We keep the culture of Rajasthan alive because we have 400 hours of dance and music and song, which is now almost extinct in Rajasthan. We have a nursery where we keep traditional varieties. And we also have a dentist, a lady who is illiterate, but looking after the teeth of 7,000 children. How about that? In 6 months, she might be able to do a root canal. But we haven't got so far because she's too scared. We have acupuncture, all traditional alternative medicine. And we have a community radio, which is 50,000 people we access 24/7 through a community radio on social messages. Remember, all these people are people who are semi-literate, never been to school and college. We have a solar cooker. If you should come to the Barefoot College, you get solar-cooked food done by grandmothers who are illiterate, made this Scheffler solar cooker. And regrettably, they're almost half German. They're so precise. So this is our staff of the Barefoot College. We believe in transfer of technology, transferring demystified, decentralized, right down to the hands of poor communities. So we are transferring people's technologies of water. Rainwater harvesting is something which is so important in Rajasthan in the deserts. But you ask the engineer, what about rainwater harvesting? And they say, stupid answer, it's not in my curriculum. So we try and use practical knowledge, which is 300 years old, and transfer them into schools. So now we have 1,200 schools where there are rainwater harvesting structures. We collect 100 million liters, and 50,000 children go to these schools. We have 225 schools at night for children who can't go to school in the morning because they're looking after goats and sheep and drinking water and firewood. So we run schools at night for these people. 7,000 children come to these schools at night. And we believe that they should actually run their schools. So we have an election. Between 6 and 14 girls elect a prime minister. We have schools like that in 1975. Now the schools are all solar lit. This prime minister is elected by 7,000 children. Prime minister is 12 years old. She looks after 20 goats in the morning, but she's prime minister in the evening. She has a cabinet, and that cabinet monitors and supervises the schools. All the prime ministers are girls, much to the regret of the boys, because more girls come to school at night. The boys have to settle for being Speaker of the House. She went 5 years later to get the World's Children's Prize from the Queen of Sweden. Queen of Sweden couldn't believe that this prime minister, on her left, had so much confidence, never been outside a village in her life, and all of a sudden, she's as if she's settled down in Sweden. So she turned to me and said, can you ask her where she got her confidence from? This 12-year-old prime minister looked at her straight in the eye and said, please tell her I'm the prime minister. Where the media, where there's no newspapers, no television, we work through puppets, glove puppets. This man is 300 years old, solves all my problems. He's my psychoanalyst, he's my doctor, he's my teacher, he's my lawyer, he's my donor, solves all my problems for me. Anytime I have tensions in the village, I call this man called Joachim Chacha, and he solves all of it. And we talk about social messages, why you shouldn't beat your wife, why you should have clean water, why you should send your child to school. These puppets, ladies and gentlemen, are made out of recycled World Bank reports. Education. What is the most powerful way of communicating today? Is it television? Is it telephone? Is it telegraph? It's tell a woman. That is how we communicate today. All these women are now entrepreneurs. They look after, they work, they make handicrafts. Because of solar light, they have more power. They make the sanitary napkins. They make toys for children. They make chalk and candles. They make teaching aids and learning aids. They make solar water heaters. They make solar cookers. And now they also make mosquito nets. So over 2 million people, we have actually worked over 40 years and given them jobs. Today, we believe in the demystified, decentralized systems of solar energy. Once we showed how we could solar electrify the village, then we started solar electrifying villages all over the world, and we started with India. So these are women who are illiterate, semi-literate, never been outside the village in their lives, and through sign language, we trained these tribal women solar engineering. These are the first tribal solar engineers of India. And this technology, after 15,000 houses being solar electrified by these solar mamas, we took it to Africa. So between 2008 and 2015, we have covered the whole continent of Africa. And we have trained over 300 solar mamas, all people who are illiterate, never been outside their village, never even flown a plane, and they come for 6 months to the Barefoot College and become solar engineers. They are guaranteed, this is the light they have, unacceptable today in 2015, and they have to travel 5 kilometers to get kerosene and candles. So these solar mamas, every 40 women, every 6 months, come from 10 least developed countries and sit around the table, chatter, chatter, chatter. They don't understand a word because they're all speaking Spanish, Jola, French, Wolof. But the sign language is great. And within 6 months, they know more about solar engineering than any graduate after 5 years of university, guaranteed. So we've covered the whole continent of Africa, and we have covered Latin and South America. Great supporter was Michelle Bachelet. She was head of UN Women, and she was so fascinated that she gave us some money for the Pacific and for Africa and for Latin America. So now, 70 countries south of the equator have solar mamas, solar engineers, and we have covered over 700 grandmothers today. His Holiness the Dalai Lama came, and he couldn't believe that he had seen this. And we said, we'd like to train some Tibetan women. And he said, sure, but they will not understand. So 6 months later, we got the first 2 Tibetan women, and he just was so delighted. He said, I want to see the Barefoot College. I want to see what makes this organization tick. So he came, spent the night there. So we told him, you know, we've come to the conclusion that men are untrainable. Men are restless. Men are compulsively mobile. Men are ambitious. And they all want a certificate. And the moment you give a man a certificate anywhere in the village, anywhere in the world, they go looking for a job in a city. So what's the point of training men? So we train only women. Today, there are 9 barefoot solar mamas who've been trained in the Philippines. And they're all fantastic. You can't believe how much they have trained. They've all come and gone and become solar engineers. So His Holiness came and said something very profound. Made a puppet of him too. He said, now that you have shown the Barefoot College working in practice, let's see if the experts and development planners and the UN and the World Bank can make it work in theory. Because we have done everything wrong. We haven't followed any classical model. And yet it seems to have worked. Something in this model which is magical. And we'd like to replicate it all over the world. So right now, every grandmother who comes to India has been supported by the government of India. So the government of India gives me the money to get a grandmother from any part of the world to the Barefoot College, pays the airfare and the 6 months training costs. but we need people like you gentlemen to look after the equipment. So we need some people who are in the CSR business to come and help us with the equipment. I will end with a quotation of Mahatma Gandhi. He said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. Thank you very much.